This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Music. Let's talk about music. Bob Joseph with you. It's Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. We can talk about all sorts of topics, Binghamton and beyond, but I'd say let's focus on music today on a special edition. WNBF! And a great Wednesday morning to all who celebrate. It is one of the better days of the week. 607-772-1290. Program is yours. You will help guide us between now and noon. Everything is still on the table. We're not taking topics off the table. If you have things that you believe really need to be discussed on air at 92.1 FM and 1290 AM or online at WNBF.com, or for people who are using the WNBF app, feel free. Don't limit yourself to music, but if you have a desire to talk about music, and it could be some of your favorite artists, favorite songs, favorite genres, what has happened to music, say, over the last century, if you've noticed any significant changes in the music that we listen to. We can talk about local bands, local venues, concerts, your favorite concert. What was your favorite concert ever? Ever. Not just, say, in Binghamton, anywhere. Were you at Woodstock? Are you still muddy? Can you remember what happened at Woodstock? And would you go back if they did the same thing over again? Let's start taking calls. Good morning, WNBF. You're caller number one. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Well, happy Thanksgiving from DJ and all his friends and family on WNBF and India, Dolphin, Illinois. Hey, Bob, it's DJ in Binghamton. I wanted to talk about that article you put this morning. There was a very interesting, as the guy on Laughing used to say back in the 70s. So do you know how much it is to park in that parking ramp of Boscov's that you did that full article on? It was the first article on your WNBF internet.
It's not immediately known to me. I am guessing it might be $1 for the first hour.
An hour?
That's a guess. You asked me a question.
It's 2 free hours if you're shopping at Bosco. I'm wondering what they do when they go to the Black Bears game and like that. And also, Bob, because you've been parking downtown for a long time, what's the difference between the garage where the Occupy Binghamton people tagged and got tickets back in 2011? I was a drummer over there. What's the difference between the one across the street from the new Boscov's and the Boscov's? What's the difference?
The one next to Boscov's is newer. That's
brand new. Yeah, they piece it together.
And by the way, as the article at WNBF.com notes, it's not 100% clear when it will open. I don't know if it's going to open.
It's not open now? Oh, okay,
well,
December.
It wasn't open yesterday afternoon. I was going to drive by this morning, and then I thought, based on what it looked like yesterday afternoon at 3:30, I don't see that it's going to be open this morning. I'll go over and take a look. I left a message for Mayor Cram at his fourth floor City Hall office on Tuesday afternoon because I wanted to include in the article when he thinks it's going to open. But I haven't heard back from the mayor. If he or anybody at the city has information on when it's going to open, they certainly can call us. The main point, of course, that the article spotlighted was City Council has approved, at least for 1 week, free parking because they want people to get back in the habit of using a garage, which we haven't had for 2 years. So,
because that one down by the Stone Pizza, Cold Stone Pizza, whatever it's called, that fell on cars. So I want to ask you this. Remember Joshua B., the radio disc jockey who turned Luma, he started Luma, and then Mayor David and former Mayor David and Mayor Cram. We were the only four there when the crane ball hit. So I was there when the first hit to knock down the old garage. So I'm up on all this, but I just wanted to know what the difference is between the one across the street from the new one, where you guys have parked. Roger Neal parked in there for years, and I don't. What's that called?
Well, one of the biggest differences is size. The oldest remaining of the original city parking garages that were built, I believe, around 1970 or 71. Those garages, they built 3. The one that remains of the original is bigger because it's the only one of the downtown Binghamton parking garages that actually has parking below the surface. So there are, I counted once, I think there are a total, I don't know if it's 9 or 10 levels of the Water Street parking garage, or excuse me, the State Street parking garage.
Street parking garage.
And a lot of people don't know that because they just see what's above ground, and I believe can't remember if it goes up to 6 or 7 levels, and then there are I think 4 levels below. So there are a lot of spaces. I don't know what the total number of spaces are in that garage, but that's next to be torn down. So if you like to see parking,
I'm listening to you.
Who's that woman? Has she been drinking?
That's a hitchhiker that I picked up a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. Is she okay?
Her name's Alexa.
I was wondering if it was Felicia.
she's my yeah. But Bob, seriously, because I want to help the people out there that are going, because people are going to be going downtown, like say for instance Saturday, and or go shopping at Bosco. It's not made plain. Ask the mayor to come on. But because you guys have all parked there. You had the WNBF vans, the WH Hawk vans, and so I want to know if there's a money difference. I mean, I'll find out. I'll go down today like you are. I might even see you out there, and I'll buy you a matzi in Boscov's restaurant.
Actually, I looked at a story that I did. I've done so many stories about so many parking garages.
Oh,
eight and a half years ago, nearly 9 years ago, I did a story, and the headline is "No Elevators in 12-Level Binghamton Parking Ramps." So that is one big difference between the State Street garage that we all know and love, the one that still is historic, and then the 2 new ones, at least the garage that's been open for a few years at 7 Hawley Street has a working elevator, and I believe when the new garage opens on Water Street near Boscov's, I believe the elevator will be working. But one of the bad things about the State Street garage that has 12 levels, there are no working elevators. I remember Mayor David on this program said they were going to put in new elevators, and then a couple months later he had to come back on and acknowledge it just wasn't going to be feasible because there had been structural damage. So if there hadn't been any serious structural changes with the garage, they could have spent $1 million or whatever it costs now to buy a new elevator or 2 elevators, whatever they were going to do. But they had to take a closer look, and because of structural issues, it wasn't going to be as straightforward as Mayor David had hoped, so that plan had to be shelved.
Something else, Bob. I was just going to sidebar in that one would have to be healthy and in their 40s, as moi and you are. But anyway, what's up with it? Is the YMCA filling in the pool with cement and making rooms is the whole thing closing? Is the whole YMCA, you're not going to be able to work out there? Is that what's happening with that?
I think eventually that's what's happening. But
I need to stop in there.
Well, when you stop in there, tell the guy that runs the place to get over here to the studio. Tell that guy, because he doesn't.
Call him.
I have called him. I'm waiting. I've been waiting for weeks and weeks for him to return my call. It's about time.
I've been waiting for a call from you. Yeah, but you know what? They're screwed, man. They're afraid. Hey,
Afraid of
anyway,
what? Afraid of their own shadow?
Yes, they tell me, I don't like my voice. Get over it. At least you don't talk like this, hey, Bobby. You have a happy Thanksgiving, man. All right. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.
Enjoy your holiday. 9/19. Be sure to have plenty of holiday sauce with your whatever you have on your table. Some people probably will have turkey. Some people will have ham. Some people will have hot dogs and just have plenty of holiday sauce. Speaking of that, I'm not going to mention the name. There's a major chain restaurant, and every year they play this game because they have some kind of sandwich that they would like you to think is really, really popular and that America really craves this sandwich. And so they say, they play a game. Oh, we're bringing it back. Oh, no, this is the last time we're having it. You'll never be able to get this sandwich again. And then I'll be darned. It happens. It comes back again next year. So I think you know what I'm referencing. And now that same entity is trying to sell a jug of sauce. Now, I've had that sandwich, and I'm not saying it's bad. No, in fact, it's unique. It certainly is unique. But why do people want a jug of that sauce? I mean, anybody can buy anything now. That's the beauty of the internet. So if you want to go buy a jug of that sandwich sauce, but think about, I mean, is that really something you should be buying by the jug? It's no wonder. It's no wonder we. Well, what if it's addictive? It could be addictive for some people. If you have an addictive personality and you start buying that sandwich sauce by the jug, before you know it, you might become maybe not physically, but at least psychologically dependent. So is it really a good thing to be selling sauce for that mystery sandwich that everyone loves once a year? Selling the sauce? And are there limits? Do you have to be at least 25 to buy it? They require 2 forms of ID? These are questions. 607-772-1290 with Bob Joseph, Binghamton Now on WNBF.
Providing you with the best solutions of your lifetime. The KSO Insurance Weekly Spotlight with Karen Sweet O'Neill on News Radio 1290 WNBF.
This segment is sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions, conveniently located in Vestal. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Great. How are things?
Things are very well. Yeah, things are good.
Things are great.
Yeah, have a little time off coming up. I like that.
It is nice.
Yeah. It's just it's a needed break for a lot of people. So that's good.
Right. And then we get back on Monday, and then as I often say, after the holiday break, it's back to business. You got to get back to business. You can't just say, "Oh, I enjoyed that holiday break. Now I'm not going to do anything else for the rest of the year." No. In December, there are things you must do.
There are things you should do, probably.
Yeah.
Very, very, very true. It's our last week of annual open enrollment for people that are on Medicare, and that's next week. So they have until the 7th to make a choice or keep what they have and all that sort of thing. But we wanted to also talk about the upcoming Thanksgiving weekend because in many, many, many cases, it's one of the most traveled weekend for people coming home, visiting friends, seeing family. And it's also a really good time if you are with family and friends to talk about, situations that may come up or just important papers. Where are they? And that sort of thing. Because if you don't know, then you don't know, and you might not be able to ask. So if you have an opportunity, You might want to get with your loved ones, find out if they have a will, if they do, where it is, if they have an attorney and who the attorney is, and if they have bank accounts. And many people have many different bank accounts in many different financial institutions, Bob, whether they're credit unions, some have 2 and 3, and then, of course, banks themselves. So it's really good for family members to know where those resources are. If you have stocks, you have bonds, you have mutual funds, what firm are they with, and who's the broker that you use. And, if you own your residence, where is the deed located? And it's quite interesting because you would think, well, they'll know where the deed's located. Well, in many instances, when there is a couple, one person is the one that's in charge in a lot of cases for financial transactions, paying the bills, Bob, making sure that all of the other bills are paid, life insurance and so on, and they have places where they put, hopefully, these important papers. But it doesn't mean the spouse always knows where that is. It's an assumption that should not be assumed. So whether it's a spouse or even along with that, your children, make sure they know where it is and where the deed is. And what about your safety deposit box? That generation, my parents' generation, Bob, many of them still do have safety deposit boxes. And they have a key. And you need to know where the safety deposit box is and where the key is. So if something happens, you can open that box and find the contents. Because it can be very important because they usually put important things in the safety deposit box. And what about life insurance or annuities? Do they have those products? Do they have that coverage? And where are they located? Or what company are they with? Very important. Do they have health care proxies? And if they don't, that's something that needs to be done so that their wishes and their concerns with their health care will be enacted the way they want. And what about powers of attorney? Can't emphasize that enough, because if an accident or an illness happens, Bob, and then you go to get power of attorney, well, they might not be eligible to make that decision to make you power of attorney. And you can have more than one. You can have all your children. You can have 2 children. You can have 1 child, whatever the case may be. And that's really, really important. So all of these types of things can be handled in a one-stop shop if you really want to condense it. And that normally is to go to an elder law attorney. And elder law attorneys are not just for people that have big estates. They're for people that need to get all of these things on paper, and the resources are there so the children or the spouse knows what to do if they need to. And even if you need to help pay bills, because maybe temporarily, could be a temporary situation where you're not eligible to do that, or allowed, or able, I should say, to do that. So it's really, really important, and we just have a little shout-out to wonderful elder law attorneys. We're so lucky. We've got Levine Goulden and Thompson. We've got Jamie Malassie over there, Jamie Lindsay, but now she's Malassie, Karen McCullen. We've got Nancy Klein and Kristen Luce up at Coughlin and Gerhardt. And word on the street is that Bud Dahlgren's back at HH&K.
Are you kidding me? Bud Dahlgren is back?
That's what I hear. And,
I had not heard that. Thank you.
Yes, and many people are very.
All right, I'm going to keep my eyes open here in Mr. Joseph's neighborhood.
He's hard to miss.
I know he is. He and George Pataki. I always look up to him.
Me too, right?
Yes.
I haven't talked to him directly, but clients were in and said that he was back in town.
Oh, good.
And over at HH&K of counsel, I believe. But anyway, so we have all of these great attorneys out there that can help you just format it. And you know what? And when it's done, it's done. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's all done. And in many cases, that's the only name you have to give and the firm to your children. And it can make a big, big difference in how they handle your affairs, whether you're here or not. We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway East, up above Plato's Closet and Style Encore. You can reach us several ways. For an appointment, you can simply just give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can Google us at KSO Insurance, and all our contact information comes up, including our website. Make an appointment that way. Or if you missed the phone number, we have a big display ad under insurance in the Yellow Pages, and we'd like to wish you, Mr. Bob Joseph, and all of the listeners a very happy Thanksgiving.
And I wish you and your family and friends and all within the sound of my voice a happy, healthy, and safe Thanksgiving.
Very good. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Talk to you next week.
Thanks. It's 9:31 WNBF. Real people who really know real people. See? We've got actual people here. No, it sounds like AI to me. Now, trust me, when we switch over to AI, you'll know. 607-772-1290. I say, let's talk music. If you would like to talk about music, because we have officially authorized this as a special edition of Binghamton Now. It doesn't happen every day. There are very, very few special editions of Binghamton Now. So when they happen, enjoy it. Take advantage. We can talk music or pretty much anything else, whatever's on your mind on this Wednesday. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to WNBF Talk Radio, Binghamton Now. Let's continue talking. Take some more calls here. Bob in Shenango Forks, you're on the air.
Yeah, a little bit worried. I heard someone talking about parking this morning. It must be he didn't know anything about music. But my first concert was when I was in high school, and it was at Binghamton North High. And it was the Beach Boys. And the bus broke down in Binghamton, and they wound up playing in the auditorium.
No, the Beach Boys played at Binghamton North?
Yes, the 70s. The bus broke down, and they played in the auditorium. They had a concert. Girls that heard about it, they were breaking in the bathrooms at night trying to get in to see the Beach Boys.
Really?
And, yes, and finally, word got around that they called it, auditorium. Everyone sat there. Then they finally had students in from Central because the word went around, the Beach Boys are there. Now, back in the 70s, I'm pretty sure most of the Wilsons, of course, were still in the band. But I'm sure some other caller might know some information about it. I mean, I went to school there in 72, so...
Huh. Okay, I looked it up in the newspaper, and you're right. It was in March 1972. It says Beach Boys. Yeah. Beach Boys floating a new wave of popularity. And it says in the North High School auditorium in Binghamton last night, the Beach Boys rehearsed for a 3-week concert tour that is getting underway. But if it wasn't for the familiar music, you never would have guessed that it was essentially the same group of musicians who sang about their little surfer girl a decade back. They have some pictures in the newspaper, a picture of Carl Wilson, Al Jardine, and then a file photo from the Beach Boys back from the early 60s. But they had plenty of, including somebody I didn't realize he was a new Beach Boy, Blondie Chaplin, who it says he was one of the new Beach Boys from South Africa.
Oh, that I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow, so it's, that's pretty cool.
Boys, they're here. I still have the book someplace, and the whole history of them, how they wasted money, spent money. It's a really good book, But I think there's only one Wilson still alive, if I'm correct.
I think you may be right. I'm not positive. I think that's true.
Yeah.
Bob
from Vessel calls in. He knows a lot about music.
Yes, he does. I'm surprised we haven't heard from him yet because he knows so much. The only time I saw the Beach Boys is when they performed at the stadium here. Do you remember when the Beach Boys were in downtown Binghamton at our stadium on Henry Street?
I think I only went to one concert, and I couldn't even tell you who it is. And I think I told you once before, a friend of mine, which passed away now, he snuck in one of those old recording things and taped Elvis Presley before he died. And he had, one of those big old VCRs you carried, or whatever they call them. I don't know, cameras.
Yeah, I used to have one of those things. They were really clunky. I mean, they were nice at the time. It was state of the art at the time, but
he must have had a small one, but he snuck it in there, and he had Elvis, and I saw it, and you could hear it, but times change,
Oh yeah.
But, Arena used to have a lot of good things. Slowly they get something there once in a while, but
yeah. Well, the music industry has changed so much. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it's different now.
Well, they want bigger venues is the main problem with a lot of them, Arena, I don't even know how many people can get in the arena for a concert.
I don't know, 6,000, 7,000. Depends what the seating setup is. I think in some of the first concerts in the 70s, when the place opened about 50 years ago, sometimes they could pack more than 7,000 in because you would have seating on the floor as well as seating all around the arena. So you could pack in a lot of people.
We've had a lot of famous people there, that's for sure.
I know. We've some of my favorite concerts there. I think it was in the summer of '77. The Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, and some people are surprised when I say one of my favorite concerts at the arena was Dolly Parton. I'm not by nature necessarily a Dolly Parton fan. But what happened, I think it was I don't know if it was the day of. For some reason, I think our radio stations had some tickets that we were giving away. And I think as of, close of business, I think it was almost 5 o'clock. And my manager, she said, well, there's still a pair of tickets that somebody won, but the office closes at 5. And if they don't come here to pick up the tickets, then obviously they're going to be unused. You want to go to the concert? And I said, yeah, I will. And it was one of my favorite concerts. It wasn't something that I probably would have paid to see, although after I saw the concert, it was definitely, she did a tremendous performance, and I was extremely just impressed by her talent. I've always known of her talent. It's just that's not usually the genre that I go to see in concert. So anyway, I appreciate your sharing the memories with us.
Yeah, one last thing, if you're still there. Back in those days, I used to record a lot of bootleg CDs or 8-tracks. So I have tons of old albums.
Yeah.
And now I don't half I don't listen to anymore.
Yeah, well, hey, speaking of things that were sort of bootleg, and I'm just remembering this now, and maybe you could recall when I spoke about this on the program last year. Do you know who the first rock performer was at the arena?
You could recall. I don't know.
Springsteen.
Oh, was it him?
Bruce Springsteen, June 13th, 1973. And this is when Springsteen was just getting started. He, I think, had one album out, and his new album was just being released. I think that's the album that had Born to Run. No, maybe. Anyway, it says that concert was June 13th, 1973, the first concert at the arena, and the headliner was Chicago, but Bruce Springsteen opened for Chicago.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, if you go to our website, and you can Google it actually, if you just Google Springsteen and WNBF, you can take a look at the story I did about a year and a half ago. Oh, and the tickets for the first rock concert at the arena, guess what the cheapest ticket was in June 1973?
Like $15.
$5.50. The tickets were $5.50, $6.50, and $7.50. And the newspaper story at the time said there were more than a few grumbles about the top ticket price. So people in June 1973 were not happy that some of the tickets for Chicago and Bruce Springsteen were being sold for $7.50. It shows you how much times have changed. The other thing about that, if you go to that story, again, Google it or use your favorite search engine, just Springsteen and WNBF, at the bottom of the article, you can click on for a recording of Bruce Springsteen when he was at the arena. It's not a great recording, but it's a bootleg, so you know probably what you know what to expect in terms of sound quality, but still, it's a historic document, and I included a link to that because I found a video posted on YouTube of some. It's not the entire performance by Bruce Springsteen, but I think it's about, let me check. It's 32 minutes.
Was Tokus the manager then?
Think so. Charlie Theo. Wait, was it Theokas? Yeah, he was the first arena manager, and I think I sort of met him after he was no longer manager, but they credited him with his contacts in the entertainment industry with lining up some of those relatively well-known acts early on. So good memories.
Well, you have a nice Thanksgiving. I will be celebrating mine at a fine local establishment.
I know exactly where. Tell Davey I said hi.
I will. Talk to you later.
Happy Thanksgiving. It's 9:45 at WNBF. Hi, Beverly from the town of Dickinson. You're on the air.
Hi, Bob. You know that when I was growing up, my mother introduced operas in our house, and of course, I let's put it this way, I got stuck on it, and I don't know. Then I got into the rock and roll and stuff, but that was kind of hard to play some of them.
So, what was your favorite concert?
My favorite concert was the ones that played I can't think. They were on TV. There was Fonzie, and I can't remember all the players.
My favorite concert was Woodstock.
No, Bob, I got a story to tell you on that situation. There's this girl that I was very good friends with. Her mother and father had a cottage up there, maybe 5 miles away from Woodstock. And,
you mean near Max Yasgur's place, the dairy farm?
I've heard of it, yeah. But anyways, that was some concert. Man, I'm telling you, everything happened there. There was a baby born there, and I don't know what else went on. But
I heard a lot of stuff went on, if you know what I mean.
We heard it we were about 5 miles away from Woodstock, but we didn't go in, but we could hear the music. Bob, it was all night.
Did you think of calling the cops and asking them to go over there and tell them to pipe down? You're trying to sleep?
Well, this girl's father was a state trooper, so he knew how to handle things.
Yeah, somebody I know sent me some pictures of the state police at Woodstock. Those are fun pictures to look at because, let's face it, when you get, I don't know what the final crowd estimate, some people say it was 400,000. Some people say it was even.
There was a lot of people.
Yeah, some people said it was almost 500,000 people. So at that point, I don't know how many state troopers there were, and maybe some local law enforcement, sheriff's deputies, and so on. But they were no match for 500,000 people enjoying a concert.
But I don't know how many days that went on. But I know that we could hear it from my friend's cottage, which was about 5 miles away. But anyways, I don't care so much for that stuff.
Yeah.
I liked like I said, I grew up in a house that liked opera, and so that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, well, I like a lot of different types of music, but
Did you ever hear of the Long Jean records?
No.
Yeah, well, that was my graduation picture. I mean, records when I graduated from North High. Yeah, yep, I still got them too.
Really?
Yep.
Very nice. Well, I appreciate your sharing some of the memories. So did you ever go to concerts over at the arena here, over on State Street?
Yeah, I went to see, I can't remember. It was, I can't remember. I know it was in the 90s, I know.
Well, they had
I
a lot of great concerts.
Yeah, they did. We used to go down to that place in Johnson City, too, when we were roller skating and stuff, and they used to have concerts down there, too.
Well, good times. Appreciate your call. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, Bob, you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hey, friends, you too.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's 9:50 WNBF. More calls from America. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Gary from the West Side.
Morning,
Hello.
Gary.
Yeah. So I got some music-related news. Did you hear about that outdoor concert and the orchestra was struck by lightning? Only the conductor was killed. Speaking. I know.
Where is my rim shot sound effect when I need it?
Speaking of orchestras, Bob, when my kids were young and I used to go to concerts, I would tell them never look at the orchestra because there's too much sax and violins.
Jeez.
I know, Bob. I was looking.
Come on, man.
Look, I was walking through Rec Park the other day, and there was a Justin Bieber ticket nailed against the tree. So I took it. Bob, you never know when you're going to need a nail. Hey, Bob, what kind of music the Bunnies like?
Oh, no. I don't know.
It's easy. It's hip-hop.
Of course they do.
And speaking of hip-hop, I go way back. I knew Ice Cube when he was called Water.
Yeah. Jeez.
Anyway,
it's and of course everybody should stay. Everybody should stay for the late show, the 11 o'clock show, because that's when it gets a little more risky.
I saw Charlie Daniels at the Susquehanna County Fair. That was a great concert.
Did he play his fiddle?
Yeah, the devil went down to wherever he went down to.
I remember on the radio back in the day when the devil went down to Georgia looking for some Moxie to steal. They had to edit. They had to do a radio edit because back in the day you couldn't say that word on Top 40 radio. And now when you look back, you say that's pretty tame compared to what what we hear on some stations now.
So, in your humble opinion, what is the greatest music decade? I know there's a lot from our generation, Bob, that go to 60s and the 70s, but myself, I got to go 80s.
Really?
I got to go 80s. I got to go new wave. And the end of disco, right? Disco really threw me off for a while. I didn't realize that.
Well, disco, I was not a fan of disco, and probably a key factor was it at the height of disco, and I would say from 74 to 77, it just seemed to take over everything on the radio. And then there was one station in this market that went all disco. They thought that was a good format, and maybe it was. I mean, they certainly managed to distinguish themselves. They didn't stay with the format very long, but they were all disco all the time, I think, for a couple of years.
Yeah, disco definitely didn't do it for me. And Bob, I'm almost in my 70s, and believe it or not, I love the two kinds of music that I love. I love spa music, right? Just to relax and eat dinner and just listen to spa music in the background. But my favorite music is heavy metal. Just give me some heavy metal.
Really?
I know I'm crazy. Yeah, like KGB. KGB is my kind of station, but I just love real hard metal. Not the crazy headbanging metal type stuff, but just something,
I'm trying to think if
Metallica,
if
but that's
for some reason. I never got into that. I have friends who really love it, and for some reason, I just didn't find it compelling. I don't know why. Maybe it just sounded too
metal compelling, but it's kind of a mindless thing, I think, right?
Well, a lot of music is somewhat mindless, but I don't know what there was of that genre that never really appealed to me.
What type of guy were you back in the day? Were you the one that you liked the bands that everybody liked, or you liked the bands that nobody really heard of? I was the second. I liked going to the smaller venues instead of Madison Square Garden or wherever.
When I was in high school and before high school, for we'll say most of my teen years, I was infatuated with top 40 radio. So I'm not proud of it, but I'm proud of it because
teen years. What are you, 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
top 40 was good in the 60s.
Well, it was.
Really was good.
It was.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be taking more calls. We'll keep talking music for the next couple of hours. Appreciate it. You too, Gary. Thank you. We are talking music and more on Binghamton Now on this Wednesday morning. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. 1010 WNBF. If I was on the air at a news station in New York, I would say 1010 wins, but I am here in Binghamton, so I'll say 1290 Winbuff and 92.1 Winbuff. Dave in Vestal, you're on the air.
Good morning there, sir. How's it going?
It is going very well.
Good. Hey, I like to start off by saying, Bob, I'd like everyone out there to take their turkey and stuff it. Also, Bob, just think about when the turkey's done cooking, then they can give their family the bird. Hey, I was listening to you and Gary, and he mentioned an outside concert, Bob. And I got to thinking, remember when Dave Clark 5 came to UE? I'm trying to think, Bob, was there any other big-time outdoor concerts at UE other than that?
Blood, Sweat, and Tears. David Clayton Thomas.
Right.
And they had a riot. Right. They held a concert, and then they also had a riot.
That's right. I forgot about that. Wow. Okay. And plus, too, and you guys were talking about eras, Bob. If I had to pinpoint like a 10-year period, I'd have to go with probably like 66 to 76, somewhere in there. That was probably my favorite time for music. And one other thing, Bob, before I go, I'd like to hear, I'm curious, listeners out there, their favorite one-hit wonder song, Bob, because I know I got mine, and it's hard to top from the era I listen to music, and that's that Black Betty by Ram Jam. Bob, that's a good song. I'm surprised they didn't come up with other stuff. You remember it, right?
Oh, who could forget?
Well,
I mean, well, I'm not. I think they played it at the hockey game when I was at the hockey game a few weeks ago. I think they played it. I'm not sure who makes those decisions, but for the life of me, I didn't understand why that was being played at the hockey game. You know, must be somebody who runs the music there is a fan of the Ram Jams.
Bob, there's a lot of one hit. Hey, do you know? I'm trying to think. What is the biggest? Do you know what the biggest single seller was ever?
No. I don't know.
I think,
Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life.
No, I think it was Bing Crosby's White Christmas.
Well, could be, but you know, some people probably are. Probably some people are offended by it.
Yeah, well,
understandably. You know, why couldn't he have just done a song saying, "I'm dreaming of a happy holiday"? I mean, so, you know, I think maybe people don't realize this. I think he was just trying to stir up trouble. I think he was intentionally trying to aggravate some of the more sensitive viewers.
You know he's referring to the snow, Bob. We all know that.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean? Yeah. Cocaine? So now you're telling me the whole thing all along is about drugs. Oh, well, even better. Great.
Bob, you know what? Now that we're talking about Crosby, I'm going to dig out my old VHS tape that I saved from MTV recordings years ago, and I still love that Crosby and Bowie there doing.
Well, that is a classic. I mean, I still look at that decades later and say to myself, what the heck were they thinking, except that it worked?
Wow, that was beautiful the way
it is beautiful. Yes, I haven't seen it in a while. I don't know that I watched it last year, but I'll watch it this year now that you reminded me. There was just something. See, if I had seen that proposal on paper, and I don't know who produced it, if it was MTV or exactly I'm sure online there's the story behind the story, and somebody proposed that to me, and I had to say yay or nay, I think I would have said, no, it sounds kind of clever, but I don't see how it's going to work, except that it did.
Yeah.
It worked. It was remarkable.
You're right. If someone proposed it to you, you would never think, nah, they can't. They don't go together at all. But boy, to me, it's great. I'll watch it again. I'll watch it a few more times this holiday.
Yeah.
I'll watch it during the holidays. It's just the way they did it, Bob. They harmonized well together. I would never thought they'd done that. Bob, what is your favorite one-hit wonder song?
That's
Green
a hard
Tambourine?
No, that's a good one. Now, the problem with trying to pick my favorite one-hit wonder is there are too many good ones.
Yeah, there is.
I don't know what I would pick. There are so many one-hit wonders that I don't know. I don't know what my favorite is. But to me it's amazing. And some people actually are they think calling artists, whether it's a singer or a group, calling them one-hit wonders. Some people find it demeaning or offensive, and I think, hey, I know. Here's one. This isn't my favorite, but this certainly proves that you can never underestimate the intelligence of the American record buyer. Disco Duck by Rick Dees and his cast of idiots. Now, Rick Dees was a disc jockey out in California, and that was at the height of the disco craze, such as it was. And he came up with this novelty song, and hey, I concede it was cute the first time I heard it, but after about 2 billion plays over the course of 6 weeks, I have to admit, it lost some of its luster. Hey, speaking of disc jockeys, I was just looking this up in the newspaper. I think this was the first time that my name was in the newspaper from when I was working here at WNBF. And I wound up on the front page of the newspaper, and it's because of the death of Bing Crosby. So a local reporter for the paper, so Bing Crosby died on a Friday in October, and so they had to do their local take about the death of Bing Crosby. That's back when the newspaper was allowed to do local takes on things. So now, if they ever ran a story, it'd be something by Reuters about a week or two after the person died. But this was the following morning. So Bing Crosby died on a Friday. And so Gene Gray, who was entertainment writer for the paper and music critic oftentimes, he did a story. And then they even did another local story by some kid named Jeff Scher. And so he was trying to get reaction from people around the Binghamton area about the death of Bing Crosby. So I happened to be working at WNBF on that Friday night. I think I was on from, I don't know if it was 6 to midnight. The phone rings. Hi, this is Jeff Scher from the paper. And I said, oh, hi, Jeff. What's going on? No, not much. I said, yeah, same here. Hey, did you hear Bing Crosby died? I said, yeah. Yeah, I did hear that. He said, well, I'm writing a story. I'm thinking like, well, better you than me. So he asked me quickly for my thoughts in between records, because back then we were playing records that usually were 2.5 or 3 minutes long. So this is how it shows up in the newspaper the next morning. Bob Joseph, disc jockey for WNBF, Binghamton's easy listening AM station, said several listeners had called in to ask about Crosby's death. Then there's a quote, and I think he quoted me correctly and appropriately, accurately. Quote, because he was one of our standard artists, he still had a popularity base here, though maybe not so much with the young, Joseph said. What the?
That's good.
Well, to be blunt, and I didn't want to tell Jeff Scher because this wouldn't look nice in print in the newspaper after Bing Crosby died, but maybe people could read between the lines that maybe Bob Joseph, disc jockey for WNBF, Binghamton's easy listening AM station, maybe he really wasn't much of a fan of the Binger. It's, now that I look at the quote, it sounds like, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds heartfelt. Sounds like, quote, because he was one of our standard artists, he still had a popularity base here, though maybe not so much with the young. People like me. So I'm not saying I was misquoted. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I told Jeff Scher, and he probably, thoughtfully, didn't include some other things I had to say about the Binger.
That is cool, Bob. Hey, you brought up our local paper, Bob. Back when Kennedy, when we lost JFK, I was like 7, 8, somewhere in there. I think it was 7, 8 years old. But I didn't realize how soon after that the Beatles hit the States. About 3 months later. I was reading that in the paper yesterday.
Well, the Beatles were poised to hit the States. In fact, I think they were starting to hit the States in November of '63. And I think the record label and radio stations had to make an adjustment sort of a mid-course correction. I'm trying to remember the specifics, but I actually think they didn't really catch fire in America until a few months after JFK was killed. I think there was some sort of feeling among radio and TV executives, along with the record company, that it might have been, I don't know, somewhat inappropriate for everybody, especially teenage boys, to be so enraptured with these mop tops from Liverpool right after the tragedy involving President Kennedy. So I kind of think it was sort of delayed, but maybe I've got my facts wrong. But for some reason, because there were radio stations, especially in New York City, not limited to New York City, but there was real competition for the young and top 40 music audience in New York City and a lot of markets. And so like WABC wound up trying to pretend that they were somehow the official station of the Beatles. So they would say WA Beatles C, and every time when, like, say, the first time that the Beatles landed in New York City, they had live coverage with two of their DJs, I think at JFK Airport. Well, it wasn't JFK Airport then, but at the airport when the Beatles arrived from across the pond, and it was live coverage. They're at the airport, and stay tuned for constant updates, WA Beatles C. And they sometimes even had early copies of some of their songs that were obtained through non-traditional channels, as in somebody at the record pressing plant sometimes made a copy, and then they would who knows what the exact transaction was. I'm sure money was involved, because isn't it always?
Yeah.
So, WA Beatles C, or one of the other, I think WMCA was also a big top 40 station in New York at the time. Even WINS, WINS, which is now an all-news station. They were, I think, top 40 back when the Beatles foisted themselves on an unsuspecting America. So there was enormous competition and interest with these kids from the UK. And, yeah, it's just fascinating to me, both from a radio and a music standpoint. I don't think something like that could happen again. But on the other hand, look at this bizarre infatuation with Taylor Swift.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's actually, and especially now in an era not just where we still have radio, but we have TV, we have the internet. Everybody has, Spotify or other music services, and they can get music on the YouTubes and everything else. So I guess as much as a lot of people figured the Beatles could never be topped, well, they have been topped. Look at how much money she pulls in.
Right. You have to look at the time too and what things cost. So you look at that.
Right. No, I know.
Yeah.
You would have to be, just as I mentioned, the ticket prices for the first rock concert at the arena with Chicago and Bruce Springsteen, and people were griping with the top ticket price of $750. So yes, I mean, and for example, the newspaper that I'm looking at, where they put that bizarre quote that I gave about Bing Crosby in 1977, a paper was 20 cents. Now it's $20. So you see how inflation has changed everything. And by the way, you knew who did that. In 1977, the paper was 20 cents. It was thanks to Jerry Ford. By then it was Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
Good times, baby.
After Ford. Bob, real quick before I go, I read a quote, as far as American influence music with the Beatles. I read a quote by McCartney. He says, if it wasn't for the Isley Brothers, we'd still be in Liverpool. They really looked up to the Isley Brothers. They liked them a lot.
Really? I don't remember.
Yes.
I don't remember seeing that quote.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, speaking of the Isley brothers, this just I noticed this in the newspaper from 50 years ago. You remember Wilson Pickett?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So 50 years ago, just to the east of Binghamton in Delaware County, and there's a story about it in our Binghamton paper, soul singer charged in shooting. Rock star Wilson Pickett was arrested after state police said he fired a bullet through the door of a motel room where two of the singing Isley brothers were in.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was in November 1974.
Mm-hmm.
The AP story from Delaware County said no one was hit by the bullet fired from the .38 caliber two-shot Derringer. Pickett and the Isleys were on a hunting trip in the community of Andes in Delaware County. I like this thing in the paper. According to a state police investigator, he said Pickett, quote, evidently had been drinking and, quote, caused a disturbance in the lounge of the Andes Hotel. The state police investigators said Rudolph Isley and O'Kelly Isley, assisted by two local men, went out into the parking lot with Pickett in an attempt to calm him down, but then they got into a scuffle. So they left Wilson Pickett outside. The four other guys returned to the motel room and locked the door, and then Wilson Pickett, according to this story, fired the gun. So Wilson Pickett, who was 33 at the time, hunting and drinking in Delaware County. Isn't that, I'm sure like Sean Lennon is listening saying, yeah, man. And Yoko Ono, they're in Delaware County. Yeah, man, we're hunting and drinking in Delaware County. What, do you have a spy cam? Wilson Pickett was charged with reckless endangerment and criminal possession of a dangerous weapon.
Unbelievable.
Good times, baby.
Hey, Bob. The Isley Brothers, that song, That Lady, part 1, part 2, what a great song. And Ernie Isley, very underrated guitar player he was.
They were some really talented brothers, baby.
Yes, they were. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you and everyone out there, Bob. Hug your loved ones. Enjoy.
Well, yeah, and enjoy every sandwich, baby.
Yes. Pumpkin pie, don't forget that.
And pumpkin pie for the punks out there. Take care.
All right, pal.
Pumpkin pie for the punks. I was just talking with my manager. She mentioned that she saw a couple of punks. Got to commend her because she went to... This is above and beyond. So she's in charge of the place. So she went and grabbed a breakfast pizza for all the good workers here. Oh, yeah, and she let me have a piece, too. But she said she saw... I'm not quoting her directly, but I think there were a couple of WNBF listeners out there exchanging holiday greetings. I think that's what the upshot was. It's not exactly how she described it, but she said, yeah, there are a couple people out there on Court Street. And, of course, exchanging holiday greetings. Talking about the high cost of free parking. It's 10:30. More calls coming up. Stay tuned. We're talking music on Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. WNBF Happy Radio at 10:33. Let's go back to the busy phones. Beverly from the town of Dickinson. Good morning.
Good morning. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, my husband bought me an RCA Victor record player. It was stereo. At that time, you could not play the stereo record at Fowler Dick & Walker. I went there to buy a record, so I bought this record, Edie in Love, Edie Gourmet, and I could not play it on their record player because they couldn't handle stereo. Stereo at that time, the record player had a special needle, and it was not the same kind of needle that you had on your other Victrola. But I got it anyway, took it home, and I still have that record. And I just love Edie Gourmet, and how she sang Edie in Love. It was just such beautiful music. But back then, they didn't have stereo equipment. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. That's to me, somewhat surprising, but maybe it shouldn't be, because anytime new technology rolls out, it takes a while before everybody gets up to speed. So, just like in the 80s when CDs started to become commonplace, you could at first get only a few CDs, and then suddenly almost everything was released on CD, and over time they stopped releasing most things on vinyl. So things take time. Technology can move fast, but sometimes not as fast as you might think.
I know. I love that record, and the record player came with a stereophonic total sound demonstration record. And it was a while before you could play a record at some place like Flowers because they didn't have the equipment. Isn't that strange?
It is very strange.
But
all right.
I loved the music back then, and I still like that old stuff.
Yeah,
but
good times.
Anyway.
Well, thanks for the memories. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
I hope you do too, Bob. It's fun listening to you.
Hey, thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too. 1036 WNBF 607-772-1290 is our number. Diane is in Halstead. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
I have some good music. Johnny Denver was in the arena back in the early 70s, and he played In the Round. Remember In the Round? They would put the music guy in the middle, and the people would be all around him. Remember that?
Well, I know of it. I've never been to a concert with that format in the round. I always wanted to, but I never had that experience.
Okay, he was at the arena, and I saw Rod Stewart at the arena, and he had ramps. He would go up on the ramp out into the audience. I remember that one. This was like 1970 or something. It was really early. And the best concert there was the Pointer Sisters. They were excellent. They put on a great show. Remember them, Pointer Sisters?
I do.
Yep.
They had quite a few hits.
Yep. And another thing real quick, on Route 11, they used to have, in the early 70s, they had a place called the Warehouse. And the Classic Four played there, and the Brooklyn Bridge, they played there. Do you remember the Warehouse? Did you ever hear of it?
Oh, I heard of it. I remember because the station that I listened to so much as a kid, they called it the Big E. Their station in Endicott, for some reason, they called it the Big E. And then, now we have a tire company that calls themselves the Big E. Every time I hear about the tire company, I keep thinking of the radio station I listened to as a kid, the Big E, at 909 East Main Street, and they had commercials for the Warehouse. But I always wondered about it. I never got there, but I know they advertised.
It was a bar, and they had bands play there. And the real Classic Four and the real Brooklyn Bridge played there. It wasn't the ones at Tribute Band. It wasn't a tribute band. They really played there, the Classic Four and the Brooklyn Bridge. And they had a lot of hits back in the early 70s. And one more thing. And I don't know if you remember this song, but it's probably before your time, but it was called Little Green Bag. It was a really good song. So if you ever find it...
Little Green Bag?
Yeah.
Oh, some guy I know, he had a little blue bag, but he had all sorts of illegal pharmaceuticals. I always said, oh, he better watch out because the cops are probably going to look inside his little blue bag someday, and he's going to wind up at the Front Street Hilton, if you know what I mean. But yeah.
Well, if you ever look this song up, just listen to it once.
Little Green Bag.
Little Green Bag, and it was.
And who did that? Elvis Costello?
No, I can't think of his name now.
Sounds Elvis Costello, maybe David Byrne. I'll look it up.
Yeah, and the best song I think is Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. I love that song.
Well, I do too. That's remarkable. That's a remarkable production.
I know. That's my favorite song. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in here.
All right. And I, by the way, since I looked through I have the clipping from the newspaper, John Denver appeared in the round at the arena in June 1980.
Was it 1980? Why
Yep.
did I say 1970?
Well, maybe he did it more than once. The story that I see, it said, and by the way, and I forgot about this, he was born, his birth name was not John Denver. His name when he was a kid was Henry John Duschendorf Jr.
Oh, yeah.
So,
He had a weird name. Well, they all changed their names for
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
when they're stars like that.
Well, a lot of stars do change their name. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
I
Bye.
appreciate it. Thanks. WNBF Live and Living Color here on the radio. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's John from Binghamton.
Well, isn't this a surprise?
Yeah, I almost overslept.
I was going to send the cops over, send a couple units over to your West Side mansion to do a welfare check because I expected on this special music edition that you would have been one of the first callers. So I'm glad that you are checking in.
Well, anybody and everybody is always welcome to chat with me as long as they keep the Constitution in mind.
Absolutely.
Hey, Bob, here's what's, it's amazing how the audiences have changed. If you go back to the 50s and early 60s, whether it's comedy or jazz or popular music, the audience was very, very attentive. And whether they, you don't know what each individual audience member was made of, whether they were faking it. I'm sure some of the women hated jazz. The old Mort Saul line, if you like jazz, you'll never have a girlfriend. But the audience...
This is News Radio 1290 AM, WNBF Binghamton. Now on 92.1 FM, W221 EJ Binghamton, a Town Square media station.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a new FCC rule. We have to run the legal ID at 42 minutes after the hour, every hour.
Yeah.
By the way, I apologize for that. It's totally my fault. And
I was going to take it right from there.
You are a consummate professional. You're unflappable. Me, I'm thinking like after I accidentally did it, I'm thinking, well, should I suddenly pot that thing down, turn down the volume, or I just decided, well, either way, the show is completely wrecked, so let's leave it in there. We'll take it out for the West Coast feed, but there was no way of recovering after for some reason. I'm not even sure what I thought I was trying to do there, but you would think they would hire professionals at this station. Anyway, continue.
So the audience was attentive. The audience got less discerning as time and drugs went on. So that's changed. The shows themselves essentially consisted of house lights and maybe a super trooper if the house lights were taken down. So a performer had to be very, very charismatic and with the stage aspect of a live performance. Now there's all kinds of computerized lighting and the sound consoles. I mean, the best somebody could do in the 60s was, some voice of the theater speakers and maybe actually a Macintosh amp. But so the equipment has gotten better. I can't tell you how much when Eric Clapton first introduced his sound, the sustained Marshall sound, local and every guitar player in America was essentially left in the dust because they were used, since Rock Around the Clock and the Ventures and, Link Ray, that was how they played the guitar, how they thought of the guitar. And then all of a sudden, Eric Clapton comes along, and so many of them were hopelessly left behind. They put their fuzz tone out in the curb and gave up. So that was the sea change, and of course, as it went on, the songs themselves deteriorated to the point. I mean, the Brill Building was gone and things like that. But I would not be interested in music today. Obviously, I mean, I probably go to Binghamton University and do research because it's so horrific, it's so horrible, and one wonders why so much talent is in so it's not equally distributed, as far as time wise. So it's but the best live performers, and let me tell you something else. Some acts do get better, and most of them get worse as they become more popular. Their shows deteriorate, but the people that have gotten better are Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. I mean, the Rolling Stones.
It's amazing. They're going to be performing at the age of 100, and they're probably going to sound 5 times better than they do now. And they're not using all these standard tricks in the trade that so many current popular artists are using.
Yeah, so they've gotten better. They've utilized everything that's out there and managed. I mean, I heard them in '73, and that was in
pretty rough. Well, here's speaking of the '70s, and I believe we have touched on this topic previously on past programs, but I brought it up earlier this morning about the riots at Union Endicott High School when Blood, Sweat, and Tears was there in August 1971. And I'm trying to recall, were you there for that?
I was there. I was talking. It was after the show, and I was talking. There was a new horn player. He wasn't on the record. They had just got him. And he drove a 280 Mercedes SEL. It was ivory white, and he was leaving, and we were talking about the car, and then I think I remember some police activity, but I don't have any recollection of that. I mean, I have a vague, but nothing.
According to the newspaper account, the next morning, well, it was the next afternoon. This is from the Evening Press. I love the lead. Well, first, headline, concert crashers pelt police. So I don't know if they thought they were vying to be the New York Post of the 1970s. There was some blood, sweat, and tears outside of the Blood, Sweat, and Tears concert at Ty Cobb Stadium in Endicott. 3 persons were arrested, 4 juveniles detained, and possibly as many as 500 persons evaded the $5 ticket price for the concert by sneaking over and under fences as Endicott police and men from a private guard agency attempted to keep gate crashers from entering the stadium.
Yeah.
Good times, baby.
Yeah. The only other, I'm going to give you the 3 biggest disappointments as far as albums go. When they came out. And the whole thing with the albums, and when you got off the top 40 format and you went into progressive rock, there was not enough talented people that could carry an album, but they put it out anyway. So here's the 3 overhyped, disappointing albums of all time. The second, it would be the second Crosby, Stills, and Nash album, which had Neil Young on it. Deja Vu, hyped in Rolling Stone and all the other music publications of the time, and they would bring you inside the studio. I don't know, it took a year and a half, and the first Crosby, Stills, and Nash album, which was really Stephen Stills playing all the instruments and the other guys coming in for the vocals, that was an unexpected success. That was really, they weren't hoping for that, but they became so popular so fast, and that album was a complete mess and a dud, and worse yet, 2 records, and the 2-record set. The next one, and it's become a cult classic now, and there's people that will disagree with it, but Led Zeppelin 2, again, a second album, horribly recorded, I know one of the studios that was used, Selma Sound. It was a terrible little 2-room studio. Good songs, but when you bought that, I bought the cassette and I put it on. I said, "What the heck? This isn't the same group that did Good Times, Bad Times."
Well.
So that was very disappointing. And the third record that was disappointing was Elton John at Sigma Sound in Philadelphia with Tom Bell at the head of it, and Tom Bell was hotter than the Pistol, Stylistics, Delphonics, Spinners, really a hit maker, and everybody was looking forward to how Elton John would utilize the sound of Philadelphia, and it was a dud, an unbelievable dud. Those French horns in Philadelphia Freedom, just terrible.
Appreciate your thoughts and memories, and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Swanson's for me this year.
Well, just stay away from the carrots. 1051 WNBF. Stay away from the carrots, my friends. I'm serious. And the onions. No onions, no carrots. You'll be fine. Celebrate Thanksgiving responsibly. 607-772-1290. Health Radio, WNBF, with Dr. Bob Joseph. Let's return to the busy phone lines. Jim in Endwell, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I've been to a lot of concerts, but I have to say the most amazing concert that I've ever seen was 1992, Madison Square Garden. It was the 30th anniversary of Bob Dylan's first album. And all the performers they all did Dylan songs. And everyone that you can imagine was there. I mean, there was George Harrison, there was Eric Clapton, there was Stevie Wonder, there was Neil Young, there was Chrissy Hines from the Pretenders, there was Johnny Cash and his wife. I mean, like you said, anybody you could possibly think of at that time was there. And it was a week after Sinead O'Connor tore up the picture of the Pope on SNL, and it was New York City. And when she came out to perform, the boos were so loud that she actually didn't perform. She left the stage. But the most amazing thing for me was during Richie Havens, I went to the restroom, and I shook hands, and went to the restroom with none other than Donald Trump.
You're kidding me. MSG?
Yep.
1992? Oh, my gosh.
1992.
Oh,
yep.
Now I'm envious.
Yep, so I actually shook hands with him. I know that's kind of weird because I think he's supposed to be kind of a germaphobe.
Well,
it was before we went to the restroom, though.
Right, but that's remarkable. So that was October 1992.
And the tickets were like $80-something, which at the time seemed like, oh my gosh. Now I don't think you could go see anybody for $80.
I think it's funny. This is according to Wikipedia, so maybe it's totally wrong. But the Wikipedia item about the concert said it was dubbed Bob Fest by Neil Young at the beginning of his All Along the Watchtower cover.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it was just it was amazing. Everybody was there.
Amazing. Hey, thank you. Yep. Johnny Winter, Richie Havens. Thank you so much. Good times, baby. More musical memories coming up. A special edition of Binghamton Now for you with Bob Joseph here on WNBF and WNBF.com. Now, this is WNBF News Radio, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, online, WNBF.com. Our number is 607-772-1290. Today, we happen to be focusing on music. Morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. It's Sharon from Vestal.
Hi.
Hi. I would recall a memory from, I think, maybe 1960, 1962. My parents took us to a concert at a high school in Greene, New York. They were country music fans, and it was Porter Wagner. And he brought along with him a young, beautiful, blonde teenager making her music debut, Dolly Parton.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll never forget it.
That's pretty amazing. Well, it's somewhat comparable to the people, I think it said about 6,500, the people who were at the arena when Bruce Springsteen was there, even though he's relatively unknown. So he opened for Chicago, and some people knew him because he already had one album that had been moderately successful, but most of the people who were at the arena in June 1973 had bought tickets to see Chicago. And I don't think a lot of people, according to the newspaper, it said about 6,800 people were in the arena when Bruce Springsteen performed. And my guess is probably about 90% were like, who is this guy with a beard? Who? Because, yeah, it was the music was good. As I said, we when I did the story about a year and a half ago, marking the 50th anniversary of that concert at the arena, I also had put a link to the YouTube audio of some of that Bruce Springsteen music from the arena. It's amazing that somebody recorded it. Quality not great, but still interesting, fun to listen to. But to be able to witness a performer before he or she becomes really, really popular. Did you have a sense then that Dolly Parton was going to be a huge success over the next several decades?
I was pretty young, but I just thought she was so beautiful, and that Porter Wagner was really promoting her. So I remember him, really making a big deal out of it, getting her career off the ground. So.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I appreciate your sharing that memory. Do you have any recollections of other really nice concerts that you have been able to attend over the years?
I remember going to the Elvis concert that was held in Binghamton shortly before his demise.
Oh, so an early... I'm trying to remember if that was in May of 1977 because he died in August of 77.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't quite memorable, but it was a bittersweet because he was in pretty poor condition at that point.
Well, and the sad thing was, now that you look back, wasn't he only 42 when he died?
Yeah.
He was very young. That's one of the sad things about some of our best musicians. Sometimes they die at 42. Sometimes they die at 27. Look at how many well-known performers, for some reason, didn't get past 27.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, thanks for the memories. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too. Thank you.
It's 11:14 WNBF, your radio station. We've been here for nearly a century, and we're loving every minute. Loving every minute. Oh, good. Somebody from corporate just sent me an email. Ha! I mean, thank you, corporate. Happy Thanksgiving. All right, thanks. Paging down on the emails if they're looking for a contribution. Giving thanks. Before we head out for the Thanksgiving holiday, we want to take a moment to express our gratitude for each of you, your dedication, passion, and wonderful talk show. Well, that part where it says wonderful talk show, that part I made up. Anyway, okay. If people at corporate are listening, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. It was very, very nice of them to send that email before they headed out of the office to enjoy the holiday weekend. It's 11:15 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Earl from Chokinut Center. How you doing this morning, Bob?
I am well. How are you, Earl?
I'm still here. You know?
Still kicking.
You're still kicking, bro. Well, you know, they were talking about music. Well, I'm about 14 months away from 80 now, and I listen to music all the time. I love music, you know? And I remember the music from the 50s, the 60s, through probably maybe the 80s. After that, I don't care. Like music today, I wouldn't know one song from another. But I think the music of the 70s was the best. Okay, so I'm throwing that out there. Now, my next thing, somebody was talking about one-hit wonders. I always liked Vehicle by the Ides of March. You're familiar with the
I'm
song,
very
right?
familiar with it. That is one of my favorite things.
Oh,
and
Bob, how could me and you have something in common?
I mean, no, isn't it amazing? And I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen it, do you watch anything on YouTube?
I watch some stuff, you know. I'm not that really great with a computer, but I might watch some. I was watching Canned Heat this morning on
YouTube. Well, then
right.
Do this. If you haven't seen it, have you ever seen on YouTube the video of the Ides of March doing a live performance of that song?
You know, I probably have looked that up before because I look up a lot of the groups. Like I said this morning, I had Canned Heat on. So I will look that up, Bob, and let you know.
Yeah, I just did a search, and it says recorded, and it's about 10 years ago, 2014, recorded live at the Chicago House of Blues, and it's a very, very nice live rendition of Vehicle.
What year did that? What year was that Vehicle? The Friendly Stranger in the Black Sedan.
Yeah, let's see. I want to say 1973, but I may
73.
Let me check.
Well, that's okay.
No, actually, it was 1970.
70.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got that out of the way, and then I'm not a concert going guy. But I went to one concert in my life, and I went and I seen in Oneonta at the State Teachers College. They had a concert there. I went to see the James Gang with Livingston Taylor opened up for him, James Taylor's brother.
Wow, sounds like it was fun. I like James Gang. Walk away.
Yeah, you got it, bro. Okay, I put in my 2 cents. Now I'll be waiting for my boy Martin. He didn't call yesterday.
Oh yeah, he's probably going to give us a call. I'd say in the next 30 minutes or so. So stay tuned.
I'll bet he's going to be. He tries to be that last caller. Because that's my man. He likes to get in the last word.
Well, if I, you know me, if the tables were turned and I was a listener, I'd be doing that most days too. Like thinking I'm clever. And sometimes you're too clever for your own good because you mistime it. And it's like,
right. And you got 12 minutes to talk. And,
yep.
And then that's it. Well, that's the price you pay. Okay, Bob, have a good one. Bye.
Thank you. Story from Chokinut Center, making contemporary news. 11:18. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Scott calling from Binghamton.
Morning.
Good morning, Bob. Happy Thanksgiving. I just had 2 little musical stories I wanted to share with you. Mine's not that impressive, but I remember back in 1984, a friend of mine and I, when we were teenagers, got tickets to see 38 Special at the arena. And we went to see them just because it was a concert. We were teenagers. We didn't care. And there was an opening act playing for them with an odd name. Nobody had ever heard of them. And we actually thought they were better than 38 Special. But the next year, when that same act did the soundtrack for Back to the Future, everybody heard of Huey Lewis and the News. But we saw them even before when they were nobody.
Well, it is one of those things. If you happen to luck out and see an artist before they hit it big. The other thing is, too, not just if you happen to see it, but that you actually paid attention and liked their music, not just, oh yeah, now I look back and I guess it was Huey Lewis in the News that was at the concert last year, but we were too busy looking forward to 38 Specials, so we weren't really listening, you know.
Right. We actually remembered that we had enjoyed. The other story is my grandmother, actually, and we have long generations of my family. So she was born in 1896. So back in the 40s and early 50s, long before I was born, she used to go to the Arlington Hotel, to the ballroom or the lounge, whatever, to see the acts that would come in there. And she remembered several times she went to see a very flamboyant and talented young artist and pianist who had a very long and complicated name that she could never remember. But she always remembered to tell me when she got older that he went on to become very famous and shortened his name and just went by Liberace.
Wow.
But at the time, he had his original given name, which was very, I guess, I don't know it now, but it was very long and complicated compared to just Liberace, which is probably why he shortened it. And he played at the Arlington Hotel, apparently, quite a few times as a B act, you know, when he was on his way up and coming, right in Binghamton. So I always thought that was an interesting story, too.
Interesting. By the way, I punched up the music review from that concert you mentioned about 38 Special, along with Huey Lewis in the News. And this is back when the newspaper did reviews the following day after a concert. And our good friend Dave Maney, who got the byline for his music review in the paper, David S. Maney. Dave Maney, who's been on this program occasionally, he did the review. And it says, News deserves headline, 38 Special misfires. He said, since they obviously like to think of themselves in terms of firearms, there is an especially apt way to describe what 38 Special did last night at the arena. They shot themselves in their collective foot. Said 38 Special made a very, very bad decision when they elected to bring Huey Lewis in the News on tour with them as their opening act. Lewis and his band made 38 Special look absolutely foolish. Lewis was very, very good, and 38 Special was very, very bad.
Wow, I'm glad to see it that I'm not misremembering it then.
Yeah, and I have to, next time I'm talking to Dave Maney, I'll have to point out that in February 1984, he apparently hit the nail right on the head, even though Huey Lewis in the News had yet to become well-known. Dave Maney, from his concert review, clearly was paying attention and certainly had a sense that Huey... Oh, listen to this. Let me just looking for a couple of key elements in the review. Lewis and his band took the stage to the warm applause of the sellout crowd and proceeded to gain more and more vocal support from the youngish throng throughout their hour-long set. And by then they had some hits. They had Hope You Love Me Like You Say You Do and Do You Believe in Love. So they already had some chart success. Said Lewis's slightly scratchy voice was superbly complemented by a solid rhythm section and some fine saxophone work. His material is very cleanly written to begin with, but his band's talents combined with his own excellent stage presence made for delightfully good live rock music.
Yeah, it was a great show, and I'm not surprised that that Robert Zemeckis chose him to do the soundtrack for Back to the Future, because that really is a big part of the movie, really, if anyone's seen it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling that to my attention. It's amazing. That was one concert that I don't think was even on my radar, but sounds like it would have been fun to see and hear Huey Lewis back in 1984 at the arena.
It was indeed. You have a great holiday, Bob.
You too. Thanks. 11:25 WNBF as we talk music, among other things. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Airport Road Bob.
Good morning.
I missed most of your show running errands this morning, and I love talking about the music. I have to brag a little bit. When I lived in Rhode Island, I worked as a roadie for a one-man band, basically a beach bar band, Sunday afternoons from 2 to 5 or whatever. All college kids drinking goldfish or eating goldfish and, all kinds of weird stuff. But as part of my job after taking down Paul's stuff would be helping set up the band coming in. And it was one of the best Rhode Island bar bands in the era at the time. And it was John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. A lot of people really still don't even know who they are. But listen, if you like some good old-fashioned rock and roll music, bring it up. Listen to a little John Cafferty. They actually did a music score for a movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie, Summer of Something. It was really good. And I also, being in the business at the time, electronics business, was able to go to tons of concerts at the Providence Civic Center, Stairway to Heaven in the rafters, and could barely see through the cloud of smoke. Bruce Springsteen, when he came through in the early years, and still one of the greatest live shows you can go see. I mean, they are amazing. They don't even take a break. They play the whole night through.
So John Cafferty and this band were from Narragansett?
Yes, the Beaver Brown Band. Yeah.
Isn't that the place where they used to make the candy? The Mounds and the, what's the other thing? Almond Joy, didn't they used to make the candy over there? Candy bars?
I don't think so. Narragansett's a seat, an ocean's town. It's right on the water. There is a beer called Narragansett beer originally.
All right, maybe. For some reason, I thought Narragansett had a connection to the Peter Paul Candy Company before they were bought out by Hershey. But maybe I'm thinking of something else. Probably.
I don't remember, but like I said, some of the greatest bands in the early years, you got to see them in Rhode Island before they were famous. And even now, if I stop at the airport in once in a while, I'll pop the album on just to bring music to somebody that hasn't heard it before. It's great, Bob. If you're not familiar, listen to them. The great music.
Yeah, maybe I'll listen to them tonight. The name rings a bell, but I don't recall ever listening to their music. But it appears, according to Wikipedia, if you can believe Wikipedia, the band is still active. In fact, looking at some recent newspaper listings, they were performing not that long ago in Miami, Florida. So they're still getting it done. I'm sure they have maybe a slightly different lineup. I'm sure they've added some members and lost some members along the way, but the band itself is still getting it done.
Well, they had a great horn section. I'm telling you, especially if you like saxophone and rock and roll, you'll enjoy it. Enjoy your holiday. Hope to hear more people talk about their experiences.
Thank you. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. It's 11:29 at News Radio WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Thank you. This is Matt from the BU Harper College Concert Committee.
SUNY Binghamton, not BU. SUNY Binghamton, Harper College.
Harper College.
Yeah. BU. So I know who came up with that, and she's no longer around here to defend herself. So let's just call it SUNY Binghamton or Harper College. Tell me about those days. Did you work on the concert committee?
Yeah, I was actually on the set up and take down committee, which I actually got paid for going to concerts, although concerts weren't very expensive back then. But me and my friend Ned and a bunch of people we had to put down floorboards on the men's gym. That's where most of the big concerts were. And but I remember specifically several of those concerts, and I don't know, Frank Zappa played there. Clash played there once, which was amazing. In 70, I found a ticket. I was going through some stuff the other day. May 1st, 1970. Paul Butterfield Blues Band played in the women's gym, and it was $1.50. And I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out why the concert didn't start till 10:30 at night. But it says right on there 10:30 start time. So, but I've been really blessed. One time I was coming back from my father after he lived up here for a bunch of years, moved back to Philly, where he was from, and he had a golf tournament every year I'd go down to, and I was coming back and I was tired, but I was going by Scranton there where the ski slope is there. What's the name of that place again? But anyway.
Montage?
Montage, yeah. They have a big concert place there, too. And I was coming by, I was like a half hour out from there, further away, and I start listening to the local radio station, and they said, there's a pit area right in front of the stage, and they said, we have pit seats available for $10. It's not really even seats, it's just an open area. And they said, we're still selling those for $10. And I go, and it was Steve Winwood with Traffic. And opening up was Annie DeFranco for him. This was later on, obviously, way after Steve, when they were famous young, but they played one of the best concerts. It was a perfect night with a almost full moon, $10, and they played every hit they ever had, and it was like that was one of my lucky favorite concerts.
I'm looking at a list of some of the SUNY Binghamton concerts over the years. Boz Scaggs, Delaney and Bonnie, Billy Preston, Loggins and Messina, Poco, the Kinks at least twice, Marshall Tucker Band, New Riders of the Purple Sage, Santana, Squeeze, apparently at least twice, David
they
Brenner.
Had a lot of good jazz concerts, too.
Harper Jazz Ensemble, David Brenner.
Yep.
And Oingo Boingo. Billy Bragg. I went to that one. Billy Bragg. Yes. And Steve Miller Band. Sonic Youth. I missed that one. George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars. I think I was sick that night. But they even had Foo Fighters. Right? For some reason, I never went to see Foo Fighters in 2008.
Miles Davis played, and his piano player at the time became very famous. Keith Jarrett was his piano player for that concert. Ella Fitzgerald played there. Yeah. Pharoah Sanders had an amazing show in that I worked for, and I found it was the first time he ever did this song called "The Creator Has a Master Plan," and I found the notes. I still have the notes from. There's a whole rap that he does, and these beautiful women with castanets, dancers, came down the middle of the aisle during that song. It was like an amazing production. And I got when we were cleaning up afterwards, the notes were on the piano, so I got all the lyrics that he had written. So anyway,
another one. I didn't go to the concert, but I was covering it for the news. Drake in 2011. Oh yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to see what happened because something happened. And I'm not saying precisely. So something happened over there, and I don't think it was really bad, but I remember getting contacted by the university police because apparently I was one of the few people over there who was shooting video. And again, something happened, but I don't think it was really, really bad, but it was something. They said, "Oh, can we look at your video?" And I'm thinking, like, I don't really think the police should be looking at news video. It didn't seem
right.
I'm trying to remember how that was handled, but I do remember because, well, I think they were concerned because Drake at that point in 2011 was at that stage getting really popular, and I think they had stepped up security because for some reason I think they were under the impression that some of the crowd was going to cause trouble, and so they had and I don't know, I'm guessing it was probably not just university police because there aren't that many officers, but they may have been augmented by Vestal police and state troopers. And again, something I think relatively minor happened, and they're saying, well, Bob, we saw you there taking video. Can we take a look at your video? And I'm thinking, well, if you want to take video, if you want video evidence of a concert, go buy yourself a camera. This is not a concert at SUNY Binghamton, but it was still funny. Larry Bud Melman. Larry Bud Melman shows up there. The actor Calvert DeForest, who portrayed Larry Bud Melman on Letterman's program. So they had an audition, and I'm trying to think what year this would have been. Anyway, probably early 90s. And they show up, and it's auditioning for Stupid Human Tricks. So Larry Bud Melman was going to be the MC, or he did serve as the MC. And for some reason, the people from Letterman's show at CBS, they came up to Binghamton to do auditions for Stupid Human Tricks. And here's a high-powered TV show operated by Worldwide Pants, and none of them, they had at least half a dozen people, none of them bothered to bring a video camera so they could take the tapes back to...
Yeah, I remember you telling this.
So I taped it. They said, okay. They saw I had my camera. So could you do us a favor? We stupidly came up here to do auditions for Stupid Human Tricks, and we don't have a video camera. So after you're done, can we take your tape? And then, because we need it when we're going back to show Dave or show whoever makes the decisions about who to come on the show. And then they said, and we'll send it back. And I'm thinking like, yeah, right. I'll never see that tape again. But sure enough, about 6 or 8 weeks later, I got the tape back in the mail with a very nice thank you note from, I think, Barbara Gaines, who was the show producer. She was there. And Larry Bud was there.
They were the stupid people that didn't bring a camera, huh?
Well, who knows? I mean, let's put it this way. They didn't have one. Maybe it got stolen. For all I know, they were, parked at the Vestal Plaza, and someone broke into their van and stole their camera. I don't know why they didn't have a camera. It was just odd.
The longest concert I ever went to, and very famous Grateful Dead concert, I'm sure you've heard of it, was at the men's, what's now the men's gym, which is the main gym afterwards, the big athletic center before they built the really big athletic center. And they played from 8:30, and that's where the New Riders of the Purple Sage played. They played with the Grateful Dead, and they played from 8:30 until 3:30 in the morning. And my friend keeps saying that I made history that night because at the end of the concert, I yelled out, "Start all over again," like really loud, like, "Come on, keep playing," which was a joke because they had played so long. And they had a song after that called "Start All Over Again."
Well, there you go. Congratulations. Here's.
I'm not sure. I don't think that's the truth. But my friend John always says that I was responsible.
That's funny.
So, we'll never know. But
maybe you were. It's still a good story. So here's. If you stop by the station before noon, I'll give you a coupon for 10 cents off a small Frosty at participating locations.
I'll be right over.
Some restrictions apply. Anyway, thanks for the call. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Take care. 11:38 WNBF. All the hits, all the time. We've had a lot of fun talking music. Yeah, we'll do this. I plan to do this again sometime in December because it's fun. It gives us a chance to get away from the usual topics. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but it's just refreshing to talk about music, some current music, but so many great musical memories. So we will plan to do something very similar to this in December. Binghamton Now, WNBF. It's 10:42 in Chicago, 9:42 in Pueblo, 8:42 in Pacific Palisades and 1142 in Endwell. Oh, to tell time. Let's go back to the phones. Val in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Morning.
So Matt from Binghamton was just talking about the Grateful Dead concert that he saw at Harper College. I actually have that bootleg tape on cassette, and I have it right in my hand.
There you go. You have a lot of those bootleg tapes, I understand.
Yeah. But my favorite concert that I went to was probably the Rolling Stones in 1981 in Syracuse, because that's probably my all-time favorite band. That was like the first rock band I really started to get into when I was young.
I was there. I was at the Dome.
No way.
But I don't remember. I don't remember a whole lot about it. But still, I think I have a picture. So
you have your stub?
Well, I don't have. That's the problem. I don't have my stub. I think I have a picture though. But I'd have to look for it. But I think I went to. I'm trying to think how many concerts at the Dome that I've attended. I'm thinking 2 or 3. But wait a second. Now I think I'm getting confused. Well, anyway, I think I might have been at the... No. What am I thinking of? It was somebody...
Well, get back to me on that one, because that's interesting. But my ticket was only $15.
Yeah, well, those were the days.
Yep. And also, Matt was talking about SUNY, BU, whatever. I saw Joan Jett there in 1982. And George Thorogood in 1985, and that ticket was only $10.
See, for some reason, now I mentioned Billy Bragg over at SUNY Binghamton. I remember Billy Bragg because I've always liked Billy Bragg, so go ahead, dislike me, but he he's a good songwriter, a good storyteller, and he's not everyone's cup of tea, but. And then I'm trying to think where I saw Elvis Costello, though. And at first, I want to say I saw him at SUNY Binghamton, but the more I think about it, I think it was in Ithaca. So I don't know if it's at Ithaca College, but I did see Elvis. And, of course, when I say Elvis, yes, Elvis Costello, not that other pretend Elvis that everyone loves. It just saddens me. And here we are, nearly half a century later since Elvis Presley died. Just saddens me that he died so young.
Right. I'll never forget when he died. Me and my girlfriend were riding bikes, and her mom came home from work, and she told us. I'll never forget that. It was right on Division Street. Yeah. Division Street over on the west side. But, yeah, ticket prices are crazy. The last concert I went to was at the arena. I think my ticket was $70.
Oh my gosh.
And then I saw Tom Petty for $9 in 1983 and Eric Clapton for $10.50 in 1982. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, the whole music industry, the business model of the music industry has totally changed. And I understand. Obviously, look, you got a bunch of freeloaders, about 8 billion freeloaders in the world who are getting so much of their music for free. So the old business model doesn't work anymore, and so these artists have to make some money some way. And even then, even with high ticket prices, once you look at the whole cost structure, how much it actually takes to put on a decent live concert, there's not that much left over. I mean, Taylor Swift, obviously, she seems to be doing okay for herself. We're not going to see her, signing up for SNAP benefits in the next couple of years. But she's the exception.
Go see her.
Well, here's the thing, and I can say this with no fear because it's never going to happen. I will go see her if she is scheduled to appear at the arena, but that's not going to happen. So, or if she would, this place down here on State Street where they have music, if she would stop down to Atomic Tommy's, and do like they could call it Taylor unplugged and do it. And don't advertise. Just call some like local radio people so they could stop by, so it's not overly crowded. And then I would have something to talk about on Monday morning. That'd be nice if they would do it this weekend. Taylor Unplugged, and so you get maybe a few dozen people over at AT's, and then I would have something to talk about Monday and say, you'll never guess what happened on State Street over the weekend.
I'd rather go to Thirsties for the Chow benefit and see Rick Pedro this weekend.
That's a good thing, too. I could do both.
Yeah.
I could go there first
I would
and then
that.
over Taylor Unplugged. Yeah. Well, you know what I say about her. I just wish her the best, because it's not gonna. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but it's not going to last forever.
Right.
So,
nothing ever does.
No.
Right.
Except this show.
No.
Anyway, happy Thanksgiving.
You two enjoy your meal.
I will. 11:49 WNBF. Happy radio. Happy holidays from the WNBF family. At 11:52 with the most calls in America. Oh, Matt from Binghamton is back. He has something to mention that might be of interest to some of our viewers. What's coming up?
Yeah, this morning I just happened to come across a guy called Dr. Ed Weir. He ran the third biggest Social Security office in the country for many years. And he's a PhD, I don't know in what, but anyway, he is like the gas buddy of Social Security benefits, knows everything about it. And tomorrow he's actually, if you look up his site, he's having a Thanksgiving Q&A. Said this is a good time when families will be together. You can ask questions for their people that are going to retire soon and things like that. And I found out a couple things I never realized just listening this morning. And he really, he's very neutral. He's not political at all. Just he's like I said, he's like the gas buddy of Social Security benefits. So if Dr. Ed Weir, if anybody looks him up tomorrow, he's going to have a special Thanksgiving Day presentation. But he makes videos all the time about different issues about Social Security benefits, and I think a lot of people could benefit from checking it out.
All right, thanks for the info. See if we could squeeze in a couple more calls before we wrap it up and start cooking turkeys. Jim in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Good morning. I'll keep it short because we don't have much time. Anyway, the favorite concerts. The first one, saw Led Zeppelin in Madison Square Garden, 1973, $6.50 in good seats. 1971, went to probably one of the first of the benefit concerts, concert for Bangladesh. George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Ravi Shankar, Billy Preston. Great concert. Bought 4 tickets for $16. And lastly, one of the neatest concerts I went to was at the Nassau Coliseum the first year it opened up, and I saw the Beach Boys and Kinks. What a great concert that was. So anyway, I'll add that to the list of all the other concerts people have talked about, and made me think about some things and brought back some memories. Imagine that, those prices.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the memories, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay. Enjoy your show.
Thank you. 11:55 at WNBF. Oh, I think I know who this is. Hi, is the caller there?
Hello, this is Alyssa.
Alyssa, haven't you been on TV before? I thought I saw you on NBC TV.
I was. Yeah, that was me.
Wow. So I know you're busy today. I know if you weren't so busy, you might have stopped in to talk about music with our listeners. So just for people who haven't been paying attention to what you've been up to, just bring us up to speed. We only have about a minute and a half left, but what have you been up to lately?
I've honestly just been performing a lot. I am, working on some things behind the scenes that I haven't fully announced yet. But I've just been really busy. I'm very busy and very blessed. So yeah, I'm just I'm doing the things. I'm working with the momentum that I have, and I'm trying really hard, and I'm working hard. So.
All right. And yeah. So again, for people who don't recognize the voice, this is Alyssa Crosby. Yes, as seen on TV and as seen here in downtown Binghamton and elsewhere. Well, I'm glad you had a chance to call in, and I'm hoping at some point, whether it's December or at least sometime in the next couple of months, when you have some time, we'll invite you back into the studio just to talk music, talk about what's happened over the last year or two, and sort of a look forward as well.
I would love that so much. Yes, I accept the invitation, and I will absolutely come in. We'll make a plan of it.
All right. So what are you going to do for Thanksgiving? Going to eat some turkey?
Oh, I'm definitely going to eat some turkey. We have our annual. My family does something, and my fiance's family does something. So we do a lot of eating tomorrow. So we're gonna be very full, walking around or rolling around.
Yeah. Did you ever try to sing after having a Thanksgiving dinner?
I've never tried to do that, but I am singing tonight at Irish Kevin's.
On Riverside Drive.
On Riverside Drive, 7 to 10. If anybody wants some Thanksgiving Eve plans.
Oh, okay. Well, I have.
Yeah.
I had no plans. Now I might have a plan, so maybe I'll pop over. I appreciate your letting us know about that, and so I wish you and your family all the best. Have a good Thanksgiving, and keep in touch.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Bob.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Alyssa Crosby. Yeah, thanks. That was a nice music show. That's actually what I had mentioned, possibly a surprise. I was hoping that she would at least be able to quickly call in, because I know she's been really busy this morning. That's our program, Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph. Wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving.